Hello and welcome to the Spokane County Spotlight. I'm Commissioner Mary Kuney and my guest today is Larry Krauter, Chief Executive Officer for the Spokane International Airport. Larry, welcome to today's program.
Thank you for having me on the show, Commissioner.
Larry, to start out, can you give us an introduction about yourself and tell us what led you to the path of becoming the CEO for Spokane International Airport?
Absolutely. I've been interested in aviation management as a career since early childhood, and so I trained for it at university studies and then ultimately started working at an airport in Columbus, Ohio, and then Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, and then was recruited to come here to beautiful Spokane, Washington, to have the privilege of being the CEO of Spokane Airports.
And how long have you been in Spokane?
About 7 years.
Great. And it's a lovely city, and so we're very lucky to have you here with us.
Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit about how Spokane International Airport is organized?
Absolutely. Back in 1962, actually, the city and the county used a law called RCW 1408 that provides for the joint ownership of airports. And they formed the Spokane Airport Board under that law and have jointly owned the airport since then. The city and the county appoint a board of directors of 7 people, 3 from the city, 3 from the county, and 1 jointly appointed. They are responsible for setting the policy of the airport and then hiring the chief executive officer. Both the city and the county retain responsibilities for approving our budget, for approving grants that that come in for Spokane International Airport and Felts Field, as well as any transactions related to land.
And as you mentioned Felts Field, can you just talk about that for a second, as that being part of the organization of Spokane International?
Yes, there are actually 3 primary initiatives under the enterprise that we operate. Of course, Spokane International Airport is the one everyone's familiar with. Felts Field is a general aviation reliever airport that's actually very busy in its own right, very successful, and has some very unique attributes that make it a very attractive place for general aviation. And then we have the Airport Business Park that is near Spokane International Airport that we also own and operate.
Very good, thank you. And as we start to wrap up 2017, can you tell us a little bit about what happened in as we wrap up 2017, can you tell us a little bit about what happened in 2017 for Spokane International? 2017
was an unprecedented year for air service development, primarily. And as you and I have talked over time, air service is a very, very complex issue and very, very difficult to retain air service in addition to earning new air service for the community. And as you can see up on this slide that we have, is that 2017 was a tremendous year for us because we announced several new cities. We started out the year announcing San Diego summer seasonal service from Southwest Airlines, and then United called us and said they were going to bring service to San Francisco and Chicago O'Hare, which we were very excited about, obviously in addition to the San Diego service. Then we received another phone call from American Airlines to say they were going to start Dallas-Fort Worth service this summer, which is very strategic for us. And then if things couldn't even get any better, we got another phone call from our partners at Southwest Airlines announcing that they were going to start nonstop Sacramento service. So all of that new service started between June 1st and August 1st of this year. So as you can imagine, it was a really exciting time for us to introduce all these additional nonstop flights. In addition, Southwest Airlines has already announced that on April 8th of 2018, they will fly to San Jose nonstop daily service. And so we're very, very excited about that. And Frontier Airlines is coming back into the Spokane market on April 30th of 2018, and they will initially operate another Denver flight.
That's awesome. And these are not easy flights to get, these nonstop flights, because the airlines have a lot of, they don't have a lot of capacity, and so they're not easy to get.
I think that's really important for the viewers to understand, is that the airlines really have been operating primarily at net even capacity or even negative capacity. And so when we are able to convert these opportunities, it's a significant win for the community and also speaks volumes about what's going on in our economy right now.
Great. I understand you recently been awarded prestigious recognition among airport CEOs. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I was recently selected by Airport Revenue News magazine as the Airport Director of the Year in the small airport category, and that was an unexpected surprise, very humbling, but I think what it really is an indication of is the level of excellence that our organization operates at, and really nothing to do with me per se, as much as it really speaks volumes about our team. It really speaks volumes about our board, and frankly it speaks volumes about our city and county leaders that are partners in owning the airport and operating it with us.
Great. Well, we're very excited for you and for Spokane International Airport because it's a very prestigious award.
Thank you.
So, so as we go into now and we look at the future, so how many flights are coming in and out of our airport on a daily basis?
I think it will surprise viewers, Commissioner, to know that we are up to nearly 60 flights a day right now. And as indicated on the slide, one of the really wonderful things about the level of connectivity that we enjoy across the country is that we have more seats per citizen, per capita, in the Spokane market than all of our peers. So we outperform our peers significantly in the seats per capita, and at the same time we also have the lowest average airfare from all of our other peer communities as well. So Spokane citizens enjoy a great amount of airline capacity and very competitive fares, which is really for us the sweet spot to be in terms of what we can offer and the affordability of air service. In addition, we can show over time that we have been on a steady climb out since the recession when capacity bottomed out here in about 2013 in terms of seats. And we have been in a steady climb out since that time, adding additional seats in the market, and that's primarily been done through upgauging or bringing in larger aircraft. So some people may say, well, I'm seeing, you know, maybe less frequency but larger airplanes, and that's really a trend that's occurring across the country. But again, that's one of the things, as you can see on the slide, with outbound flights over the last several years. You can see that 15, 16, 17, and then we've got some outlooks into 2018 in the first quarter, and you can see that really we're on a really positive climb out from the recession, and the airlines are offering more capacity in our market, which is very good for Spokane businesses and citizens, as well as for travel and tourism.
And, you know, as you said, you know, in keeping the rates competitive and lower, so that's great for our citizens.
It's the best of all worlds right now. I will point out that there is a slide coming up here that we look at, which is the year-ended flight changes. Actually, this slide right here, Commissioner, that shows a bit of a situation that some of the citizens have been coming into contact with as they are traveling in and out of Spokane International, which is the situation with Alaska and Horizon. So as you can see on the slide, all the airlines are basically moving upward in capacity, particularly forward-looking into 2018, with the exception of Alaska, which still continues to be 40% of our market. So it's a very significant percentage of the market share. However, they have had a pilot shortage at Horizon, and they have had to cancel a significant amount of the Horizon flying, and they're trying to backfill that as best they can with mainline aircraft as well as partner flying through SkyWest. But right now, we continue to be in a structural deficit with them in terms of seats and flight frequency. We met with them recently, and we are very pleased that they have a very aggressive plan to try to recover throughout the next few months and into the spring of 2018. So right now they are doing their very best to satisfy demand and the level of service that that is expected by our customers, but at the same time rebuilding their schedules so that they can be fully recovered sometime, we believe, in about April of 2018.
Well, that's good news for the people that travel back and forth to Seattle on,
yes.
on Alaska Horizon, you know, as kind of the commuter travel.
Yes, and we understand that there have been a lot of people that have noticed that, and they've noticed schedule changes and irregularities, and I just want to make sure that the viewers are reassured that Alaska Horizon are really working hard to solve that issue.
Great. Have there been some changes for the ground transportation at options for the travelers that are coming to Spokane International?
I'm glad you brought that up because we've been working very hard to offer much better customer service than we have in the past along the curbside related to ground transportation. As you know, we've hired Kodiak as a contractor, and they actually have 3 people on the curbside between the 2 terminal buildings, as well as a person at the taxi starter booth, so that we can make sure that customers are guided properly to whether they're being picked up by transportation network companies like Uber and Lyft, whether they need a taxi, whether they need a hotel shuttle, or some other courtesy vehicle. We're able to assist them, and we have a much more organized curbside situation than we've had in the past. And so we believe and have seen that people have really responded well to a higher level of customer service out on the curbside.
So as we head into 2018, what are some of the big plans in store for the airport?
Well, thank you again for asking, because we have a lot of really great things in store. Of course, one of the attributes of all of this new air service is generally what we believe we'll finish 2017 at, which is about a 10% increase in our passenger activity. And as you can imagine, that begins to put a strain on baggage systems, ticket counters, security screening checkpoints, and things of that nature. And so we've been working to develop a plan to begin to address the post-recession recovery growth that we're experiencing. But we expected to experience that on a much more gradual basis than we did. And so as a result of all that growth, we're looking at beginning design for some really exciting renovations and expansion of the terminal buildings. As you know, we have a 1960s terminal that was built and then modified, and then we have a terminal that was built in the late 1990s. And so our job is to try to figure out how to make those 2 terminal buildings work together really well for the customers and for the airlines. And so we have a project that's up on the screen called the Terminal Renovation and Expansion Program. The highlight of that program, and what people who use the airport will notice immediately as we get into the construction phases in 2019, will be the development of a very large centralized baggage claim facility that's highlighted right now on the screen. That will be built in the area right now that really doesn't have any facilities in between the 2 terminals. So it's really perfectly fit right in between that area. So as you had pointed out in our discussions, that will be basically a view of the C bag claim area, except expanded towards the AB terminal. And we have some additional shots of that coming up on slides that we can describe, as people will see that as they walk into the terminal building. So today, that's what you see right now, is this area in between the 2 terminal buildings. And in the future, it will look something like what will come up next.
Wow.
As you can see, we're going to be adding a significant amount of volume in between that area. And what's really exciting is it's going to be able to bring in a lot of natural light and, again, have that consolidated baggage claim area. So the AB bag claim will actually be converted to a security screening checkpoint area in the future. So we'll have all of baggage coming into one centralized area. And as you walk across the C Sky Bridge, we have a slide that will show the viewers what that will look like as they come into the new baggage claim area, as you see there. It'll be a really nice, again, consolidated area that probably has somewhere between 4 or 5 claim devices that can have at least 2 737-800 aircraft using those at the same time. So that's a lot of critical mass in that area. But we're really excited because it's going to be a very nice view, a very welcoming concept and architectural addition to our community. So we're really excited to move forward on the TREX project.
I think it'll be awesome, and I think it just helps as you guys have thought about all of this, but less confusing for people coming to pick up travelers. And not knowing which terminal they're supposed to be at or not, and so having it all be centralized is going to be very nice.
And we're looking at efficiency as well, and obviously there's a big part of that with our airline partners. And one of the slides that you see coming up, Commissioner, shows that we do need to make some changes to the checkpoint at the C terminal as well, and we're going to do that by expanding the ticketing lobby at C, and then we're also going to come along and add a new canopy. as well, so that people can actually enjoy getting in and out of their vehicles, particularly in the wintertime, and not have to deal with snow and ice like they do today. And so that's a view today of what the building looks like, and then we have a slide coming up to show what would it look like as we add a very modest add-on to the C ticketing area, and then we'll rotate the screening area and expand that, because obviously with all the growth that we've experienced, we're going to have more screening space.
Yes, and so a question for you, as we go into this new year, there's going to be new requirements on identification. And so can you tell us a little bit about that? I think there's some confusion out in the community. The feds are putting down these standards, and how Washington State is handling that.
Yes, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about that, because it has been very confusing for a lot of travelers. And the reason for that is that the Real ID Act was actually passed by Congress back in 2005. So a lot of people have not heard about the Real ID Act for a long time. And there were many states that struggled with implementing that, including Washington State. And just last year, Washington State was able to pass legislation that Governor Inslee signed to begin the process to come into compliance with the law. And that, as you can imagine, is going to be very significant in terms of processes and educating driver's license holders about what the options are. But the good news is that there is a solution that has been approved by the Department of Homeland Security, and that is to use the enhanced driver's license as the Real ID compliant driver's license. So our residents in the state will be able to make a decision as to whether they would like to obtain an enhanced driver's license to meet the Real ID Act requirements, or they could use other means such as a passport or a valid active duty military ID. And the DHS website contains about 10 other acceptable forms of identification that residents could use. But I think it goes without saying that using the enhanced driver's license is probably going to be the most convenient option for residents. And so we were delighted to work with the legislators, our area legislators on that, as well as the governor's office, to try to make sure that we wouldn't have a period of time when Washington State citizens were not able to use some type of an enhanced driver's license. Now, the process becomes complex for people because there are a series of extensions that the state has had to apply for. And they were recently granted a one-year extension until October of 2018. And that is really good news for our travelers, because they will be able to continue to use their regular Washington State driver's license up through that time, and it gives them time to go through the application process for the enhanced driver's license. So a lot of moving parts with Real ID, but I think the good news is that we see a way forward that will not be disruptive to air travel for our residents.
Okay, so you're saying October of 18 is when they will need to have that new enhanced driver's license for travel?
At least right now. The Department of Homeland Security will continue to evaluate the progress that the state makes with regard to the commitments they have made to implement the Real ID Act, and then we'll make separate judgments on extending their deadlines. The actual deadline for implementation is October 1st of 2020. And so we expect that as long as good faith efforts are being made and progress is being made, that we will be in good shape to continue to allow residents to convert to the enhanced driver's license, or they could certainly obtain passports and, again, that military ID or others.
Okay. And then along that same line, can you tell us a little bit about TSA PreCheck and how that fits into the airport?
TSA PreCheck is really important for us, particularly as we continue to get busier and busier at peak hour. And that is really, for us, one of the best options that we think from a customer service perspective to allow our residents to travel more quickly through that screening process. We have actually gone to the extent of opening an enrollment center near the C bag claim office. It's an office near the C bag claim to actually make it easier for people to enroll in PreCheck. And if you go through the online process and make an appointment and come out to the airport, it's really a process that concludes in just a few minutes. And once you are PreCheck approved, you're good for 5 years. And so for the $85 fee, it's really a great value for travelers. And again, it will speed them through that screening process. And recently, there's been a lot of news and media around the fact that the screening process is changing for people who are not in pre-check. And that screening process may get a little bit more complex, and it may actually take a little bit more time. And so I think, again, it's another incentive to have people come in and enroll in pre-check.
No, I have TSA pre-check, and I love it. So it's very good. If you're a frequent traveler, it's a really nice thing to have.
Agreed.
And especially at other airports around the country. It's not just here in Spokane, it's at every airport that you go to.
Exactly, and it really does help you if you're connecting back into Spokane from a larger city. And a lot of folks have told us that they really value the pre-check, both because of their experience at peak hour in the morning outbound, but also as they're coming back into Spokane through the system at larger cities. It's really helpful to get through those queues much faster.
Yes, no, thank you. So we are right around the corner from the holidays, and so there's going to be a lot of people traveling. And so I wondered if you had any travel tips or thoughts for our citizens as we head into this busy travel season.
Absolutely. We're delighted to offer travel tips on our website as well, Commissioner, and we certainly think it would be helpful to refresh folks. And so we've put a slide up here, and there's a lot of information on this slide, but really it's making sure that you're allowing enough time to get to the airport. One of the things that we have created over the years, because we've done such a good job, is that some people really think they can cut it really close. But with our growth and the TSA's new screening procedures, it's really important that you look at getting to the airport 90 to 120 minutes ahead of your flight. And if you get through screening and you have some time on the other side, that's so much the better. You can relax and enjoy a cup of coffee, or make some phone calls, or check out a movie on our free Wi-Fi, and really relax before you get on that airplane. So it's important to show up early. I think the other is that not to do things like wrapping Christmas presents or gifts or Hanukkah gifts or other holiday gifts, because obviously trying to put a wrapped gift through the screening process results in that gift being unwrapped, unfortunately. And so we tell people, be careful about that, and make sure you're not bringing wrapped gifts, either those you're taking or those you may have received if you're coming back through the system. And I think overall it's really just having more of an awareness that this is the time of year when people travel who don't typically travel, and so they may not be as familiar with the screening process. As an example, they may not be as familiar about showing up earlier and things of that nature. And so for the experienced travelers, it's there's a bit of a time in which things do tend to slow down, because we have a lot of people traveling who aren't as familiar. So again, patience, and show up early, and don't wrap those Christmas presents.
Very good. So we just have a couple minutes left, Larry, so I want to give you the opportunity. Is there any other message that you want to give our viewers that we haven't already talked about?
Well, we're working really hard, Commissioner, obviously, as you've seen, on retaining and building more air service. But we're also working equally hard with a number of different partners, including the county, on economic development. And we're really excited in 2018 that we will be finishing a rail extension into the airport off of the Geiger Spur that's owned by the county. And we were able to get funding in the last legislative cycle for that. And we believe that that will lead for future opportunities to develop the property that we do not have to use for direct aviation purposes, but to again just increase the airport's contribution to the local and regional economy. We already deliver $753 million a year of economic impact, and I'm proud to say we do that in a way that doesn't require any taxpayer assistance. So we are financially self-sufficient. And that's our mandate from you and our other stakeholders. And we're really proud of that, but we want to continue to increase that economic impact that the airport has on the community, continue to help to support job creation and create jobs that are family wage sustaining jobs that we can use, again, to drive more air travel demand. So it's a closed loop, and we're excited about that, and really look forward to working with you as we go forward in the economic development area.
No, and we appreciate all your efforts there, because the airport is that gem for our community.
Well, we work really hard to make sure it stays that way.
Well, thank you. So I've enjoyed our discussion today, and I think our viewers have enjoyed our discussion as well. But I'm afraid we've run out of time. And so I'd like to thank you, Larry Krauter, our CEO for the Spokane International Airport. And as a reminder, a video of today's Spotlight can be accessed on our Spokane County homepage and our Spokane County YouTube channel. I'm County Commissioner Mary Kuney. I want to thank you for joining us today on the Spokane County Spotlight. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.